If you've clicked on this video, then all I have to say to you is this. Congratulations! Seriously, congratulations! Now, why am I congratulating you? Doesn't this seem odd and kind of out of place? I mean, especially for a YouTube video about a video game based off of one of the most popular anime series of all time? Well, yeah. But it could also be argued that the same sentiment could be had about the original ending to Neon Genesis Evangelion. But with a massively popular anime series in Japan, of course, comes merchandising based off of said series. And Eva, I'm going with Eva, has seen some of the most intense merchandising of any anime series ever. Seriously, Red Bar did an entire video on living off of Evangelion merch. There's figures, clothes, Swiss Army knives, canned bread, and even an Eva cafe that serves Shinji cocktails. And, of course, there were also video games. The earliest of these games were full-motion video games released for the Sega Saturn, and those featured light RPG elements. Oh, and there's also mahjong games, erotic mahjong games, typing tutors, and perhaps, best of all of those, Neon Genesis Evangelion 64 for the Nintendo 64. That one recounts the events of the main anime series with all of the main battles recreated in playable form. It's a really awesome title, but it's also unfortunately a game that I don't own. Instead, we're taking a look at a much more obscure Evangelion game, one that I do actually own, and it's one that's so obscure and so out there that doesn't even have an entry on the list of Evangelion video games on Wikipedia. This is a game titled, and excuse me if I butcher this, Hisshou Pachinko Series Volume 1 CR Shinseiki Evangelion, but I'll just refer to this as the Weird Evangelion Pachinko game for PS2. But wait! Before we go on, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, Zen Plus. Zen Plus is part of an incredible website called Zen Market, where you can easily and affordably import items, including gaming items, directly from Japan. I've not only worked with them before, but I have ordered items from Zen Plus just for my own purposes, and I can confirm from experience that they provide fast and reliable shipping, in addition to the incredible selection of products on their website. Zen Plus was even kind enough to send me the copy of Evangelion Pachinko that's being featured in today's video. If you'd like to shop on there for some Japanese exclusive retro games, then I'd recommend checking out the Marin Games section, which is an import game shop with a focus on retro titles. Of the over 50 pages of items in that sub-shop alone, the vast majority of the games cost under $10 USD. And that's incredible! Follow the link either in the description or in the pinned comment below to visit Zen Plus right now and even get 300 yen off your first purchase. Whether you're shopping for Japanese snacks, anime merch, or import retro games, Zen Plus is a website that I can highly recommend. I'd also like to quickly give a shout out to my buddy G from G to the Next Level for letting me borrow his Japanese PS2 and his capture card while I'm currently visiting Texas. That made capturing gameplay from this title, and thus making this video in general, possible. The PlayStation 2 is region locked, but G not only has a Japanese PS2, but it's a really cool Golden Gundam themed Japanese PS2, and that's awesome. He's a really great dude, and y'all should definitely go check him out. But now, I need to address the question that's on everyone's mind. So, is this game just an anime-themed virtual gambling thing? And the answer is, yeah, pretty much. Gambling games have been around since the dawn of gaming. The Fairchild Channel F, which was the first ever cartridge-based video game console that was released all the way back in 1976, even had a slot machine game for it. A lot of people, for whatever reason, really love gambling games in a virtual form. I don't particularly care for this genre of game, but I can't deny that it's popular. Slot machines, poker, dogfighting, all of these have seen a plethora of games based off of them throughout the years. But if you're in Japan, probably the most prolific of these gambling games, both in real life and in video game form, is Pachinko. For those unfamiliar with Pachinko, Pachinko machines are like a mix between a pinball machine and a slot machine. The machine is filled with tiny steel balls, which players get given by whoever owns or is operating the machine, and that's usually someone in charge of them at a place such as a pachinko parlor. Then players feed as many balls they want into the machine and launch them using a padded hammer. The balls then enter the playing field, which is filled with tiny brass pins, several small cups or one large cup, with those leading to some sort of reward mechanism, and a hole at the bottom for the balls that fail to fall into the catchers to go into. The more balls that get into the catchers, the more tokens or other money-like items the player will win, but usually that's easier said than done, as catchers are usually barely bigger than the individual balls themselves. It's simple once you see it in motion, and it's this simplicity that led to this genre of gambling game to become absolutely massive in Japan. Pachinko machines are big business in Japan, and funnily enough, Evangelion was and is kind of a big deal. Though they may initially seem like an odd pairing, perhaps this is a matchup that makes a decent bit of sense. Now, let's examine the actual title of the PS2 game in question today. Hisshou Pachinko Series Volume 1, CR Shinseiki Evangelion. That's right, this is part 1 of an entire series of anime-themed pachinko games that came out on both the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo DS. Of 13 games in the main series, 3 of them were Evangelion-based. There's the one we're covering today, a slightly altered Nintendo DS port of it, and part 13 in the main series on the PS2, which along with being the latest of the series I can find the existence of, and trust me, it's really hard to find any info at all about these games, it's also a game based off of slot machines and not actual pachinko. Fittingly enough there as well, that title isn't called Pachinko, but rather Patchy Slot. Again, I need to reiterate, I can find very little info about this game besides that though. Seriously, the only other info that I can confirm 100% about this game is that, as we can see from the title screen, this was officially licensed by Gainax, and it saw release exclusively in Japan sometime in 2005. It's very weird and very retro, and as such, it's something that I, here at Stuff We Play, find very fascinating. Now let's boot up the game. As you can see, the actual Evangelion intro is presented here in very high quality, though the entire intro doesn't actually play at the title screen. How odd. Oh, and you know what, I guess you couldn't actually see that, as I had to completely alter that clip so this video wouldn't get copyright claimed. I need that sweet monetization, you know. Actually, funny thing is that's the only instance here where I'll have to do that. All of the other anime scenes shown throughout the game are all shown in a windowed format, and some have been lightly altered. Looking at the main menu, there's actually a few main options here. There's a gallery which actually showcases art and high quality scenes from the anime series, which is neat, and also the main pachinko game mode itself. Oh, and you know, there's an options menu for, finagling with sound settings and whatnot. Going into the pachinko game mode, you're presented with 5 different boards and options for each of them. And once you set those options, you're off. Controls are super simple. One button controls launching the balls, and that's pretty much all you need to know. As you can see though, the actual pachinko machines here are very high quality renders that are very visually appealing to look at. The game's developers clearly thought so as well, as you can also use the analog sticks on the PS2 controller to pan around and tilt the angle you're viewing the pachinko machine at, though none of this affects the physics of the steel balls within. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You play pachinko. You launch balls and try to get as high of a score as possible, and if you get enough balls in the catcher, you'll get a wild looking cutscene featuring either clips from the TV series or featuring some very aged looking 3D models duking it out. Like with most slot machine style games, the game just kind of goes on until you get sick of it, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have at least some fun here. Of course, to be fair, I was also playing this game with my buddy Sam from Triple S in the room, and breaking into an off-key mistranslated version of Cruel Angel's Thesis whenever we started racking up points really caused us to be a good time. But I mean, can I actually recommend hunting down and importing a copy of Evangelion Pachinko? Well, I mean, the DS version is clearly out of the question, as that usually sells for around $60 USD, and there is certainly not $60 worth of content here. I saw pretty much everything the PS2 version has to offer in just over an hour, and it's basically the same game from what I've seen. Don't get me wrong, this game is very cheap, with copies usually selling for under $10 USD on the rare occasion that you come across one. But importing a Japanese PS2 or region modding one from another region is just a hassle that I don't think most people would want to go through. But at that low price, If you're a die-hard Evangelion fan who wants every piece of merch that you can find, and want a really cheap but weird game that can serve as a conversation piece, then yeah, I actually can kind of recommend this one. It's not deep. The only thing that's different between each of the 5 stages is what cutscenes you get once you start racking up points. But also, it's a very weird title, and it is decently made. And at the low price of entry, it could even be a good novelty gift for the EVA fan in your life. But with that, that's it for today's video on Evangelion Pachinko for PS2. I'd like to once again thank Zen Plus for sponsoring this video. Remember to check them out either through the link in the description or the pinned comment below. They are awesome and they have an incredible selection of pretty much anything you'd ever want to import from Japan. It's very affordable and shipping is fast, so definitely check them out. But also, I want you to let me know. Should I take a look at more import PS2 stuff in the future? Let me know down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this. This was a fun video to do, even if I am a little bit sick right now. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my patrons, Justin Chipman, The Golden Bolt, Dylan, and Robert and Abby Hornibrook. I'd also like to give a massive shout out again to Robert and Abby for sending me not only a Sega Nomad recently, but also a PC Engine Super CD unit. That's another import system that I'd love to dive into sometime and just, it's so awesome and I can't thank them enough for that. But with that, I'd like to also thank you, yes you watching this right now, very much for watching this video. I'd also like to ask that you not only stay classy, but have a very fun and safe new year.